I'll try not to get my blood boiled here, but um, Chaz, I see I see the Haas logo there. Um, Mercedes guy wearing.
I was telling you guys I got a backpack, but it broke down. It literally it lasted 2 months, and one of the straps just fell. It just like came apart. It literally just came apart.
That's funny.
You know that joke was funny an hour ago. Still funny now.
Still
Oh,
funny.
it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I actually bought a backpack, and it actually fell apart.
So it's consistent with the racing team.
It must have been made. It must have been designed by Haas engineers. Yeah.
Well, to that point, digged up a story. This was back in October of 2019, where their team principal was quoted in saying they wish that they listened to their drivers more. 2019, October of 2019, they said that. And yet throughout 2020, and throughout the rest of 2019, 2020, they struggled even more than they did. And to me, if you don't listen to your drivers then, which granted, say what you will about Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, they probably not championship material, but they do have a wealth of information behind them. If you don't listen to those
for a long time.
Was that Chaz?
They've been driving for a long time. They're veteran drivers.
So who are the drivers for Haas?
Well, we're going to get into that here in a minute.
Because it wasn't either of the names that you just said.
No.
we gotta let Brock go off. Go on, Brock. Tell the people how you feel.
If you don't listen to those honestly, I mean, why in the hell are you in the position you are right now? You don't listen. I mean, you got another story right here posted in October of 2020, a year later, from F1. I'm killing trees now, but this was quoted by Magnussen right here. I would have considered it very seriously if they offered something from Haas, if they offered him another deal, but I am looking elsewhere for a while. I've been looking elsewhere for a while. So him, and I know Grosjean is very, polite in his delivery. He said, has been financial reasons why Haas has replaced both the drivers because of COVID and what's happened last year and everything. I think that for the most part, they were just fed up. Both Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen were both just fed up, not being listened to, because you're saying, they say, hey, the car's not working right. We have tire problems. We have brake problems. We have to look at the issue of A, B, and C before we get to X, Y, and Z, before we win any championships. And they, for the longest time, the engineers, the management did not listen to him. Mr. Haas, from day one, he stayed on the podium when he introduced a Formula One team. He said, we're going to beat the Europeans at their own game. And what did he do? He hired nothing but Europeans. Say what you will. Say what you will. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my thoughts together because I'm really not trying to pull up here. But if they were really smart, and we're going to get to this here in a minute, but if they were smart, they would, first off, go to Ford. You go to Ford and you say, hey, we've been with Ferrari for a few years now. We have a working relationship with you right now in NASCAR, but we have been working with Ferrari. We know their schematics. We know their setup. Hey, let's see if we can work together here. And if they're really smart, you get the Ford, you get American crew members, you get American engineers, you get American drivers, even if it's reserved. The last American driver was Alexander Rossi in 2015. He was a reserve driver. Now he's blown it up at IndyCar right now. You do those things to get it not only American audience. One, uh, FIA, Formula One, Haas. I hope you listen to this, but that's how you get an American audience. But that's also how you get a championship team first off. Because if you want an American team to beat the Europeans at their own game, you get American people to do it. Mike, I probably said too much already, but
Well, on the bright side, with the new drivers that they've brought in, one of them has some good blood in it. Hopefully that transfers from Poppy down to him. Talk about Mick Schumacher, the son of Michael Schumacher, the 7-time drivers champion winner, and I don't know the other guy.
The other guy is not worth mentioning to me. Honestly,
I haven't done any research on him, but to be an F1 driver, you've had to go. They just don't pick people off the street. So I'm sure he's got some lineage to him and some success in Formula 3 and Formula Ford and all that stuff. So, well, I'm not going to disprove him, but the only name that I know is Mick Schumacher, and I've heard good things about him coming up through the ranks. So, I mean. But you're right. If they still don't listen to their drivers, those two are going to get disgruntled, and they're going to leave in a couple of years too.
Well, to my point, there, you just proved it. You don't listen to veteran drivers. How in the hell are you going to listen to rookies? You don't.
Well, maybe that's their thought process. We're going to get a couple of kids in here that don't know any better, control them, other than these know-it-all drivers that we don't listen to. We'll see. I mean, it sounds to me like a recipe for disaster, but weirder things have happened.
Yeah, it frustrates me because I am a Ferrari fan. I'm a Haas fan. And honestly, I mean, you have Schumacher, fantastic driver. Now, going in the ranks of the Formula Series, the first year he goes in those Formula Series, he doesn't finish in the top 10 or anything like that. In fact, he pretty much falls towards the bottom of the pack, but that's what he does. He learns the tracks, he learns the car, he learns the team, he learns the other drivers, everything around him, and then he builds up from there, which is good. But let's be honest, he's actually being built 2 to 3 years later to be a Ferrari driver, not to stay with Haas. And the other driver...
That's where his dad had all his successes with Ferraris.
Right. And the other driver said before, honestly, he's not worth mentioning the name, but I heard he's a real troublemaker when he was in Formula 2.
Nikita Mazepin.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I just want to see your reaction.
Chaz, do you see something different that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I think what's happening is pretty...
How to get the best tool for creating stunning videos?
That right there is probably the best response for Haas right there.
No, but what we see happening here is so what was his name? The drivers for last season at Haas?
Grosjean and Magnussen.
Yeah, so Grosjean, when he left, he had a lot to say about Haas. He was basically like, look, I don't have to bite my tongue anymore. I can just say what I really feel, right? And one of the things that he said when he left was that there were issues with the back end of the car. So we know that the car is trash. He said that it was like barely drivable. And Gunther, when he called him, he's basically like, look, I'm going to let both of you guys go. We have to because of COVID. Business has been tough, and they did what makes absolutely all the sense in the world for a business that's struggling, is they bring in someone who has money, right? So obviously for Mick has money behind him, and he has support and sponsorships behind him. Nikita is the son of a Russian billionaire. So he's basically Stroll 2.0. I don't know if he's as bad as Stroll. His dad doesn't own the team, but his dad's a billionaire. So I mean, if we're wondering like why he's there, that is why he's there. Like, we don't have to like, say, oh, like, is he the best? No, he's not the best option. His dad is funding him being there, and the team needs money. So I think it really is that simple. I mean, Haas still wants to be in Formula One because they like having the name out there, right? But yeah, I think it's just it's as old. It's a story as old as time. When it comes to Formula One, like Mike said so articulately a couple weeks ago, F1 is a money sport, right? And so if we're wondering why certain things are happening, it's very likely that money is motivating it.
Well, I tell you, I got debt coming out the years right now, but that probably not would stop me to buy a plane ticket to either North Carolina or their facility in London and just go knock on the door and say, quit the grab ass and get to work.
That's right. Americans.
But we're going to get to the power units here in a minute. But Mike, I want your opinion on that possible point about, hey, why don't you go with Ford? Why don't you go with another power unit? See you have other success. And now, granted, apples and oranges here that you're not really seeing, but if Ford was pretty popular and was successful in Formula One before, matching up with Haas, but who's been in there for a few years, I think that's a winning combination.
Well, I can't remember the gist of why Ford left F1, but you're right. They had a lot of success not only in Formula One but also in Le Mans, and it might have been a money issue is why they got out of F1. I'd have to do more research on it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but right now it seems like in IndyCar racing it's Chevy and Honda, and in F1 it's Mercedes, Renault, and Honda, right?
And Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes, Renault, and Honda are the power plants. So where's Ford? Where's Chrysler? Where's Dodge? Where's Mopar? I would love to see Mopar get into F1. That would be awesome. That'd be amazing. I mean, they'd lose because their cars would never work, but it'd be cool to see the logo. I can't really say that. I would just like to see. I would like to see an American manufacturer back into European racing. And Ford seems like the logical choice only because they had such success with it. I mean, they had a whole classification, Formula Ford. That was one of the tiers to get into Formula One, is you had to go through Formula Ford. And they were all Fords. So I don't know why they stopped, but yeah, that would be a good marriage if Haas would get an American power plant from an American manufacturing company and then go, be competitive, be in the mix.
Right.
And I don't know why they don't. I don't know if maybe they did and Ford said no. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's still time. Honestly, them going with Ferrari is probably the best not the best decision.
Ferrari's the other one. Right. Ferrari, Renault, Mercedes, and Honda.
Right. Well, with Haas going Ferrari in the beginning, I think that's a good decision because it establishes Haas as a team. But now they could been in there for a few years. They could go to Ford and say, let's do something together. We could probably be very competitive in the next few years, especially with the new power unit coming out. This makes all the sense in the world, but I don't know.
It'd be a good time. Yeah. Be a good time for them to get back in the mix.